Have you ever walked into a space and instantly felt like it's alive? That's what a bird room is. It's not just cages and birds, it's a controlled environment, a place built for life, where every detail matters. The lighting, the airflow, the layout, all designed to keep these birds healthy, breeding, and thriving. For some, it's a hobby. For others, it becomes an obsession. A bird room is where passion meets precision, where routine turns into responsibility, and where a simple setup can slowly evolve into something much bigger than you ever expected. But here's something nobody really likes to talk about. Have you ever wondered how much it actually costs to build a bird room? Because the truth is, it's a lot more than people think. Not because it has to be luxurious, but because every single detail matters, and those details start to add up very quickly. When most people think about a bird room, they picture something simple. A few cages, some birds, maybe a clean setup. That's the idea, but the reality? You're not just building a room, you're building an environment, a controlled space where temperature, airflow, lighting, and cleanliness all have to work together. Because if one thing is off, the birds feel it immediately. And fixing that, that's where the cost begins. So in today's video, I'm going to be going over the exact expense of everything that I had to buy in order to complete my bird room. And let's get started with the room itself. There are walls, there is flooring, and there is paint. And these are all things that don't look exciting on camera, but they make all of the difference long term. You need surfaces that are easy to clean, resistant to moisture, and safe for the birds, so it's always good to keep this in mind before building your bird room. This bird room is built with insulated aluminum panels, and that changes everything. The panels aren't just about looks, they're about stability. They help regulate temperature, keeping the heat out and holding the cold air in. And they also are very easy to clean. No porous surface, no moisture getting trapped, no long-term damage building up behind the scenes. Everything is sealed, controlled, and intentional. But that level comes at a cost, and that cost was $7,000. For the flooring, I went with this beautiful white tile that I bought off of Facebook Marketplace. I spent $500 on the tiles and $90 on 10-set mortar in order to lay these tiles down. The labor was free. One of the things that I love about this bird room is the amount of light that comes in, and that is thanks to these beautiful windows that we have here. I was able to get these off of Facebook Marketplace for $200 each, bringing the total to $800 in windows. I also needed 2 doors, which I also found on Facebook Marketplace for $100 each, and that brings it up to $200 for the doors. Next, I needed a way to mount the bird cages on the wall and created this frame out of 2x4s and 1x3s. All in all, I ended up spending $212 in all of this wood. And for the lights, I ended up spending $880. Now, lights is something that you do not want to go cheap on. The more lights, the better. So because of that, we have lights on the roof and behind each cage. Now that the bird room is completely enclosed and has all the lights in place, I switched my focus over to bringing in the cages that I had purchased. In the center row, we have a total of 55 dividable cages, which means that they can turn into 110 if I divide them down the middle. Each one of these cages was $35, which brings us to a total of $1,925. The center cages also required a stand in order for them to be able to be moved around and make it a bit easier to clean the room. I spent a total of $80 between the wood and wheels needed to build this. Now that the center cages are completely in place, I can switch my focus to the cages that I am mounting on the side walls. And these cages are 24 by 16 by 16. I have a total of 92 cages for the side walls. Each one of these cages was $20, bringing our total to $1,840. Now there are 2 other expenses that I forgot to mention a little bit earlier on, and these are things that you do have to factor in. One of them is the AC unit. I spent $500 on the AC unit and $500 on the install, bringing it to a total of $1,000 just to make sure that this place had AC and heat. The other expense was electrical work, and I ended up spending $800 on electrical stuff. Once all the cages were in place, I switched my focus over to cage supplies, and I had to get 202 water bottles at $2.50 each, which turned out to be $505. I needed 166 nest boxes at $10 each, which was $1,660, and 202 seed hoppers at $6 each, which equaled $1,212. When you have a bird room this size, you quickly realize how tedious it can be to maintain it and keep it clean. This is something that is extremely important and it can't be overlooked. I cleaned this bird room on a weekly basis and I was spending countless hours in here scraping trays and getting them clean, so I quickly realized that I had to change something. And for that reason, I decided to go with the paper roll system route. And I did that for the cages that are on the far left and far right, the ones that are up against the wall. Now the paper rolls are $20 each and I got them from Home Depot. I was able to cut these rolls in half, which meant that I can make 2 rolls out of 1, and it was a little bit convenient because that saves you money. Unfortunately, the paper roll system only worked for the cages that are on the side walls. I was unable to use it for the cages that are in the center of this room, and that is because these cages are stacked one on top of another, so there isn't any space in between them for the paper to flow through. So these cages I still have to scrape, but I figured other ways to save time, and that was with the water system. The water system that I decided to go with was the Estrom automatic water system, and this is a very flow drinking water valve. And I ended up buying 600 feet of hose at 42 cents a foot, which came out to $252. I also needed 250 barbed tees to connect the hoses together at 70 cents each, which came out to $175. The valves and clips themselves were $5.73. I needed 250 of those, which came out to $1,432. I also needed a filter system and a PVC pipes to connect it all together, which was an extra $65, and a pressure regulator to reduce the pressure of the water that was coming out of the faucet, which was $81. And just like that, the bird room was completed. So how much did I actually spend building this bird room? The ending number was $20,709. And what may surprise you is that this number continues to go up, because the cost doesn't end when the bird room is finished. You have to think that every single week you're going to be spending money on food, supplements, electricity on a monthly basis, water, replacing worn out items, unexpected vet visits. It becomes a cycle. The bird room is an ongoing investment, and at the end of the day, it isn't just a project, it's a commitment. It's something that's going to grow with you, it's something that's going to change with you, and it's going to continue to challenge you. And if you're really passionate about it, it becomes more than just a space, it becomes a part of your life. So yes, it can get quite expensive, but when you walk into that room and you hear the birds, you see them thriving, and you see everything working the way that it should, you realize that at the end, it was worth it.